Invisible Sun is a game of surreal fantasy, where the player characters have learned that the other side of the proverbial looking glass is the true world, and what seemed to be reality was but a pale shadow. It is a game of magic, yes, but a game of deep character development and investment as well. Watch as the game's structure and rules encourage player characters to grow and change as they move through arcs as meaningful as those you'll find in any novel or film. In the first session, we learn who each character is and spend our time and creativity on developing their connections with the setting and with each other. All right, so here we are in our first session of our Invisible Sun game. So what we're going to do to start with is have everyone introduce their character very briefly, and then we'll get into more detail later. So let's start with you, Darcy.
So I am playing the Cicatrix. It's a title, never tricks. Her friends are allowed to call her Atrix. So I am a stalwart, gallant apostate who travels as a spirit. And I'm well known for my curious experiences with the Pale, from which I fully recovered, I'll have you know, very much.
Bruce.
Hey, so I'm playing Savion Clay, and I'm an established ardent Goetic. So I summon things, and I cage adversaries. And I guess the one quick thing people know about me is sometimes one of my eyes changes color, so sometimes when those episodes are upon me, I just put these on to calm those out.
Cool. Sean.
I'm playing Seru. I'm a stoic weaver who splinters into fragments, and I have a small business where I make glass sorters for people who need magical accoutrement.
And Shanna.
I'm Inkalia Sigali. I'm an established empath of the Order of Makers who eats knowledge. I like to make things out of leather and metal. I work for a jewelry store where we just give things a little bit of magic. I don't like to hurt people's bodies, but I really like to get in their mind and move their furniture around. So that's kind of what I'm known for.
All right. So, as always in the first session, what we're going to do is we're going to take those last few things to further develop your character, the kind of things that extend beyond yourself, things like your neighborhood, what's going on around you, how you guys are connected, that kind of thing. And so, obviously, you're all Vizsla who live in the city of Satyrine, specifically in the district of Fartown. And so, one of the things that we'll be doing is determining exactly where your house is in Fartown, and what the conditions are around that. But to help us accomplish that as a group, we're going to get a little bit deeper into your characters. And so, Darcy, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit more about the Cicatrix.
Excellent. So when I say I had an experience with the Pale, some people would say that I died. But I fully recovered, and I think death isn't all it's cracked up to be, and there's a lot of misunderstandings, really. Something important about her is that she, before the war, because, we have these long histories in Invisible Sun, I was part of the Order of the Vance, which is much more regimented, but since then, since I've come back and have reacquainted myself and gotten settled again in Satyrine, I found that the stipulations of that order didn't really work for my new understanding about especially after my experience with the Pale. I think I realized that I just had to forge my own path and learn my own truths. So that's kind of an important feature of her. Her girlfriend, Ori, is a ghost. So I haven't fully fleshed out her whole backstory, but we'll maybe learn more about her as we go. But I travel as a spirit, so I've already learned some tools of communicating with her still. So that might be fun. Yeah, my quirk is that sometimes I see writing on walls, but I can't discern what their meanings are. And I have a great fashion sense, which Darcy can only emulate. But believe me when I say that the Cicatrix has lots of great clothes.
And so, is it known? Is it something that you share? How you past?
Certainly not.
Okay. But that probably is where you gained the ability to travel as a spirit.
Exactly.
That experience brought that out. Okay, cool. All right, so the way that we're going to begin, we should learn about the Cicatrix's house. Something about it anyway.
Yeah, so I have the foundation of stalwart, so I'm sort of working, I'm trying to restore this Order of the Honed Thought to its former glory. It's sort of a philosopher's hangout club now, but I think it could be so much more. And so that got me access to a unique house. And because when I travel as a spirit, I leave my mortal body behind, sort of unprotected, I want to have a room that's sort of designed around this sort of meditation space where I put my body when I'm out exploring in my spirit form. So I'm thinking it's like a big, weird crystalline sphere, and then there's sort of this ramshackle house that's been built around it. And so it's got a couple rooms and everything, but that's sort of the center of this strange, unique house. I'm not sure where it'll be, but we'll figure that out with the neighborhood. I think that's its major feature. Oh, and all the windows show different random views of, not what it's actually built around. So,
from the outside in or from the inside
out?
out?
Good question.
Why not both?
Well, sure.
Okay, great.
Like
so it is up to the rest of us to help Darcy figure out where this cool house actually is located, and we're going to start that by maybe coming up with some suggestions for who lives next door to Darcy in this interesting house with a crystal sphere. These can be anything that we want. They can be weird and surreal given the nature of the game. They can be, relatively mundane, considering, everything doesn't have to be just totally mind-blowing and weird. It could be another Vizsla, it could be someone else. Does anyone have any ideas?
Could be a Vance from your former.
That's interesting.
I was going to say a Vance who is maybe constantly working on their new magic, right? Research, and so... But it's very loud, right? Not a week goes by where there's not some huge explosion.
And I'm trying to meditate.
Right. And it's like, it's becoming negative. I didn't know where I was going.
All right. So a Vance and a noisy Vance at that.
Sometimes he shows up, maybe,
Okay.
Needs help.
Do we like that idea? Do we want to throw out another idea? This is a brainstorming session, so anything you want.
It could be something related to the Pale or like, a ghost hunter or something, since that's kind of part of your backstory too. Like
I might have chosen to move.
Oh, yeah.
So does your girlfriend live with you?
I haven't fully fleshed that out yet, because if she's a ghost, she could, right?
She could, but she probably would kind of come and go.
Right.
Unless she's been a ghost for a really long time, she probably doesn't have full control over that. And
she has a guest space. She can make it, but I think I may,
Maybe you have other ghosts, since you travel as a spirit as well, so maybe you have another neighbor that's a ghost and who has better control, that, you kind of possibly gain insight and knowledge from that particular neighbor.
That's a good point.
Wonder if that neighbor might be interested in your girlfriend for some reason.
That's why they keep hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
It's kind of dangerous, too.
Yeah.
Depends on their reason for interest, right?
Yeah, not necessarily in a romantic way. That could be a thing, but possibly just is like they want to mentor your girlfriend as to how to be a better ghost.
Oh, yeah, a better ghost.
That's pretty cute.
Does she like being a ghost?
I think I'm open to a collaboration on this character, this maybe cool NPC in our story. I think she finds it disorienting, but I think, however I found my way back, she chose not to do that, right? I think it was a choice. So she made some choice that whatever it was that I did to get back was either not something she was interested in, or maybe she's just likes exploring being a ghost for a while.
This relationship could be, good point. It doesn't have to be over. It just could be a little separation.
Yeah, we're on a break.
You're kind of on again, off again. Whenever she can materialize.
Exactly.
So what's this philosopher's club that you're part of?
Order of the Honed Thought. So they're, let's see. they used to be a really major force in Saturnine, sort of before the war. They were, I know that they were lots of different kinds of knowledge seekers and sort of amassing various secrets, right? Monte can, of course, maybe explain better than I can.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. And they have a headquarters in the Strange Glass district, which is different from Fartown, obviously. So they're not really nearby, but it's just another part of town. But the thing about the Order of Hohen Thought is that now this headquarters, which used to be for this, very cutting edge group of secret seekers, is really more just a social club and place to go and hang out and drink.
But I believe it could be so much more. So.
Maybe you have one of your fellow members of that group
That could be.
lives nearby, and they're more traditionalist. Or they're more accepting of how the place is just kind of a socially chatty club. And so they're looking at you as some sort of young upstart who, although your character, you're not young, are you?
I don't think so. No, I mean...
Doesn't sound like it. If
No,
you were
you've got a lot of
around
history.
before the war and you died.
Yeah.
I'm getting on in years, but there are changeries, so it's always hard to tell. With Bisley.
Okay, well, let's... So we have a noisy Vance, we have this ghost mentor, and a member of the Order of Hohen Thought. Which one do we like the best of those three?
I like the first two.
Yeah, they're both really good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like...
Oh, the ghost mentor, the second one.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have an opportunity to do another neighbor, so we can keep some of these 80s.
But I like to see the noisy Vance.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know more about
All right.
this possibly pain in my side.
Okay. So we have one neighbor then who is some noisy Vance, which is great. And I'm going to definitely say that probably has a negative effect on your character.
Yep.
Which will all come together here in a minute when we're done with all of this. But houses have two sides, right? And so the Cicatrix has a neighbor on the other side. We can go with one of these ideas. We can go with a brand new idea.
Like something like, do you think, would you be in an area where there's like a business or like an institution, like something
Let's save that because that's a neighborhood feature. We're actually looking
right for people.
Right. Unless it's a business with the prominent thing is the person who lives there.
Right. Okay.
How about someone sort of, unless you just want to go with one of the other two, I think, which would be great, but you could have someone sort of nurturing, brings you over food from time to time and, special, cake, I don't know, things like that. It's like, how are you? Just checking on you since you're meditating a lot, just making sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just a regular, it's probably just a regular mundane person, not a Bisley.
I love that though. Maybe maybe I've done something for her in the past or something, and so we sort of have this.
Just a neighborly sort of, person.
Yeah, or just the sweet neighbor. Very kind.
Or maybe someone who brings food to those people who need it and just sort of has decided that you are one of those people, which is kind of lovely.
This crazy
I think it is.
expectation of you is like, you need help.
Right.
Someone who's just generally involved in charity but has zeroed in on the Cicatrix.
Needing that.
I like that. That's really cool.
So, do we want to go with that or one of the other? We talked about a ghost mentor, which is also kind of helpful NPC nearby, or someone else of the Order of Hohen Thought. Who lives on the other side?
I'm most drawn a little bit to either the ghost mentor or this just really sweet, friendly neighbor person. What do you guys think?
I really like the possibilities of the ghost mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of story stuff that could happen there. That's really fun.
Okay.
Somebody else can have the
and almost
sweet charity neighbor.
Almost certainly a positive effect.
Yeah.
All right. So then the next thing that we want to talk about is the neighborhood that the Cicatrix lives in. And so let's come up with at least one or maybe a couple different points of interest that exist in the neighborhood that she lives in. You guys are all going to, unless we specifically choose otherwise, you guys will all be in different neighborhoods. So this will be things that are kind of unique to nearby Darcy. And this can be, or Cicatrix, sorry. These can be, you know, a business. Maybe there's a library. Maybe there's an orphanage. Maybe there's a cool park.
Maybe a pawn shop.
Maybe a pawn shop.
Weird sort of Vizsla items show up, you know, which would probably make it sort of popular because, you know, who knows what kind of weird old vintage sortiers or, you know, could show up there.
The Cicatrix would love that.
I would love
it. He's like, I'm going to take it. We could put... Do you have a store where you work on your ones? Or do you work...
my workshop is part of my house.
Okay. Because we could put the jewelry store in a neighborhood, too, that I work at. So it's in
neat.
somebody's neighborhood.
I like that.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we had a connection between art.
Yeah, for sure. It's always nice to have like a park, an outdoor space of some kind too, like a big fountain or a big park or something that that brings people together in a neighborhood.
What about like an open theater?
That would be interesting.
So it kind of encourages people to put on little
like a magic theater.
Yeah.
It can also be used for just demonstrations of magic. Your Vance neighbors, like, blow stuff
every Saturday night.
A blow up range, like shooting range.
Oh, that's a different thing. Let's remember that one. Oh, I love the idea of that.
That would be super fun.
Like a spell testing.
Yeah, totally.
Or, you know, some people go out and they fly, you know, drones. They come out and they go, you know, that'd be awesome. Some humans.
That would be fun. It's got a big Faraday cage. What else? Did any of these appeal?
All of these are very appealing.
All right, well, you know, and it's up to all of us as a group to decide, right? Because we don't, as we all know in real life, we don't always get to decide our neighbors and the things that we live nearby. So what do we think? We've got pawn shop with a weird Vizsla event. There's the jewelry store that Shanna's character Incalia works at.
I think we want one of those, but not both, probably, because they're really similar in some ways.
Okay. And then we talked about an open theater, or potentially some kind of dangerous spell testing area.
I think those are all great.
I think that if the Vance is living in this neighborhood, maybe sometimes he leaves that and goes to the spell testing area.
Let's do a spell
testing. So that's why
that
it's not
awesome.
always loud there. Just, you know, when he's at 2 a.m., he should be going.
So sometimes he's at home testing explosive spell, but sometimes he's not.
But there's this other space he could go just down the street.
I know.
Right? Oh, that's so irritating.
Maybe he keeps getting kicked out of that place.
You keep buying him a
Let's
membership.
come up with what that's called.
Ooh.
I don't necessarily mean like but I mean, what do people refer that to? That is
the magic field, something like that, or the test field. Oh, you mean like a proper name, or just
no.
Just like a general name.
Why don't you go down to the?
Like
I mean, if it was it's not a shooting range,
but wouldn't they steal shooting range and use that?
Pyrotorium.
Is it all fire? I like that though. You could call it the PT for short. Pyrotorium is a mouthful, but it seems right.
That sounds very Fartown.
Yep.
All right. Do you want to choose any of the others? Give her a couple of interesting things.
I like the jewelry store.
Yeah, let's do the jewelry store because that gives us a connection that's kind of fun and cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a ring that has a secret compartment that I may or may not have bought from you. It was a little piece. Now I did.
I wouldn't let you go to a competitor.
All right. So, good with those two? You want to do more? Okay. So, the jewelry store seems kind of positive. I'm going to say that the Pyrotorium, although it might come in handy at times, is overall going to be a negative because it encourages people to bring their untested magics into your neighborhood, and things probably go wrong from time to time.
You know, if they would just come under the tutelage of the Order of the Honed Thought, we would guide them.
They are all about focus, or they were. All right, so that is again going to kind of cancel each other out, the positive and the negative. So we have still sort of a neutral effect that is happening here. And so let's come up with. This is the last thing that we're going to do for the Cicatrix. Come up with a couple of issues or problems or rumors or something interesting going on that might come into play in the narrative that we're going to create.
Maybe all the magic from the Pyrotorium is attracting some kind of creatures that are really
I was
interested
going to say,
in
there's
all
at
that,
least the
right?
rumor of that, right?
Yeah.
The magical leakage, people are getting, why do we allow that place there, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows X, Y, and Z, some sort of...
Maybe there's actually people trying to get it removed, not
Probably
in
so.
my backyard.
Right, sure.
I like that.
Yeah, those underage kids coming in and trying their magic. And then other neighborhood issues.
So just to give some examples, we could have, like, there could be a lot of crime in this neighborhood. Maybe there's some vandals who have been,
breaking into the jewelry shop.
Oh,
So
yes.
crime, that goes with the crime, I guess.
Yeah.
Just some burglaries going on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of concern to you, I would think, because you're not in your body a lot
Right.
of times.
Oh, yeah, that's
It's very
beautiful
bad
and
news for
dangerous.
me.
Your house
We're
is
like
very
just
quiet.
like give you all the danger.
Yeah.
I really like that idea that people are. It would be interesting if they were trying to steal like particular things, so that it was a little bit more
Yeah.
like specific. I don't know what that would be, but
like jewelry.
sure, yeah, because you probably have other jewelry too that you're worried about.
Yeah. But it might be interesting if they've left lots of things. They could have taken all the jewelry in a place, but they've only taken specific pieces. And
Yeah,
we don't
what
know
are they
why.
building? That's cool. Yeah, why are they taking those things? I like that.
All right. Do you want to go with those two, or do you want to throw out any other suggestions? We'll probably only give her two, so...
Those seem awesome, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So we've got magical leakage and the controversy over that. If we have that, what side of the issue do you fall on?
So I struggle because I think, I'm an apostate, right? I think you need space where you can go try out new things. I think that's the way we progress. But also that would mean I'd be supporting this jerk Vance. I hate that he's...
The more he goes there, though, the less he's
It's
next to
true.
you.
So I think the Cicatrix is probably hasn't fully come out in support of one side or the other. I think she's waiting to see what alternatives there are, right? Are there ways we can keep that space and make it safer for other people? So I think she thinks to get rid of it. She falls in support of the Pyrotorium a little bit, but she's specific.
Okay.
All things.
I'm still going to say that with the magical leakage and everything, that's going to be a negative.
I think so.
And the crime is definitely a negative.
Especially for me.
That is going to mean that everything that we've come up with overall is more negative than positive for you, which is going to mean that you're going to start with 1 despair.
Okay, great.
It also means that you get to choose someone who had an idea here. And, who is your favorite idea, your coolest idea, the one that fit the best?
That's really hard. There's some really good stuff here. I love the Pyrotorium. Was that suggested by...
the name was, at least.
Yeah.
I'll take credit for it.
Okay. I think that's going to be
Seems right.
a really interesting
Okay.
space for her to deal with.
Well, that means that Seru gets a wicked key.
Ooh, nice.
Cool. And so now we're going to move on to Bruce, who's playing Savion.
All right. I'm Savion Clay, and I am a cage adversaries because I want to get revenge against my father. And he is retreated to the red, and he's protected by this rune, demonic rune, that anytime someone tries to harm him, it actually deflects off onto other creatures, right? So it's just really hard to get my revenge. But I cage adversaries because one day I'm going to work myself up to the ability to get him for what he's done. As I said before, I'm a Goetic, which means I summon various entities, and I go either way. I like angels and I like devils. I like to summon them both. And in fact, one of my personal goals, is to inscribe a name of 5 angels and 5 demons on a ring on each hand. I only have one so far, but I'm working my way up. So that's and my profession here is a clock seller. Back in Shadow, I was a weatherman.
Do your friends know, like, does Savion talk a lot about his father, or
Yes.
so do people know, like, the terrible things that he did to you, or do you keep that?
I don't actually ever say what he's done. Okay. I just take it as fact that he deserves what he's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And where does Savion live? What's your house?
He has a large house, and I had decided it was a ghost house long before I knew you had a ghost girlfriend. Yes. But there's lots of ghosts that live here, and so it's constantly, there's moaning, and can people sleep there? There's they have weird dreams of ghosts whispering to them, so it's a little unsettling for some, but I like it.
Cool. So who is the neighbor to the right of the ghost house?
Oh man. So I wonder, oh boy, I feel like it feels like we should have someone who's not human, maybe. Like a non-human entity.
That could be.
What about a lacuna?
Yeah, I was thinking
could
about
be
a lacuna.
a lacuna or an elderbrin.
Yeah.
Are those the most common? There are others, but
Lacunas are the entities that are just silhouettes, right?
yes,
Yeah.
they're basically a hole in reality.
Yeah.
It's alive.
That's cool.
Which seems really neat.
Can the lacuna like show parts of the red where his dad might be?
Oh,
Maybe he's
jeez.
like always bugging his neighbor. And be like, hey, show me what
I'm the annoying neighbor.
That's kind of awesome.
Okay.
I like that. What else? Who else should live there?
Maybe is it a family of lacunas? It doesn't have to be a solo person.
Right.
It could be, 2 spouses and 2
In fact,
kids.
do lacuna have family like that? How do they...
They seem to.
Oh, okay.
Lacuna don't make a whole lot of sense to humans, but they seem to operate
Interesting.
much like humans in a lot of ways.
You could also do a family on the other side that either has like an amazing dad, like this family next to you who has like this, like these kids have this, adults,
Ideal
whatever,
family.
or like young people who like are looking for a dad, so you could play into your dad's story, right? And so like
Either way,
you could
I
come from either side. I know. I'm sorry. I was trying to think of something positive, and that's what came out.
Okay, so we have.
It seems like a drama, a dad drama.
Do you want to choose one of those, or a family with a really great dad, or a family without a dad looking for a dad?
They both seem kind of awful.
Do you have a preference over one or the other?
Matter to me, I guess. You guys decide, right?
What do you think?
Well, you can.
You weigh in.
You can.
I think the really good dad that kind of make me, even madder.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of drive that.
But also there's the chance for me to, get over it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm not holding my breath, but
I know I seem pretty dedicated to my cause.
I like it.
All right. So of those two, which do you like the best? There's the lacuna, and there's the really good dad. Now, of course, we're going to do another neighbor. So if you like them both, we can just go ahead and take them both, or we can come up with more ideas.
I do like them both, but is it too much to have them both happen to be dad focused? Like if lacuna shows the red and the other family, like is it too? Does it keep you feel too narrow for that character? Like are there other things that we could explore?
That's a good point.
Tell me again, like what other?
I'm a clock seller. I cage
So you mean you
adversaries.
collect a lot of clocks in your house?
Probably, yeah. Sometimes I probably work on them, though I'm not necessarily
You're not a clockmaker.
not a clockmaker. I mean, I picked up some stuff, but mainly I go to places, I find cool clocks, I sell clocks. But yeah, I probably got a lot of clocks in my house.
You have a ghost house. Is this a nice neighborhood, or is this like kind of a cheap neighborhood where you get a nice big house that has ghosts in it?
It's a large house that is kind of run down. That's how I imagined it.
Just because that may help
It's kind
me.
of a crappy neighborhood, so maybe my neighbor... Oh, I probably shouldn't be saying what it is, but yeah.
Well, I think if you're just because lacuna are kind of looked at as weird.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
that they're just kind of not quite in a slum, but they're kind of pushed into neighborhoods that are not. Yeah, it's not a posh neighborhood. How about that?
Right.
Yeah, I kind of like both of those ideas so much. I'm having a hard time coming up with the other ones.
Agree.
They both seem
Well,
really
maybe
fun.
those are the two ideas to go with.
Yeah,
then.
especially if the Lacuna doesn't really want to participate with you, and you do get to be the kind of annoying neighbor. That's really kind of lovely.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, well, we'll go with both of those then. Neighbor on the right, neighbor on the left. That gives you two neighbors. Probably going to say that the Lacuna is probably neutral, right? Because you want things from this Lacuna, but they aren't always willing to give it to you. And so, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But the really good dad is probably just a negative influence. So overall...
The really good dad. This says so much.
Just reminds you of the childhood you should have had that was stolen from
I need
you.
therapy.
So let's talk about the neighborhood in general then. We'll give Bruce a couple of interesting points of interest. Businesses or locations or...
What would be there that the ghosts would be fleeing from that they come and live in your house?
Interesting.
Is there like a dangerous thing? I know there wouldn't be cysts in this area probably, but is there something that would scare them or make your house seem like a respite for them as opposed to sort of them haunting it? I don't know how.
Maybe there's some sort of organization that hunts ghosts or collects ghosts.
Or even just an individual, right?
Yeah.
Who is like an acclaimed ghost hunter. And they're just down the street. And
they have a ghost hunting business. Maybe they hang out their shingle. And
so a ghost hunting business.
I like that.
Right. Well, sort of an exorcist, really.
Right. Which is interesting when you go to his neighborhood too, because there's a thing there.
I was thinking if this used to be a really, really nice kind of mansion-y, a much nicer neighborhood, it could be interesting to have like an art gallery or an old museum that used to be this really, loving thing that's really fallen into disrepair or possibly is being used for a different purpose. Any ideas like that?
Like it could now be like a bunch of startup artists or something who are trying to because the space is cheap and it's big.
Yeah,
and
that could it
so
could foster some really avant-garde stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Throw in some makers and weavers and it'll be extra weird. I'm making magical sculptures.
Right.
I'll talk to you about what their intention is.
Is it like an artist collective kind of thing?
Yeah.
In this
would be
hollowed
really
out,
interesting.
really fancy old place.
A lot of them are just kind of camping in the offices of the administrator.
It is Far Town, so it makes a lot of sense that they would have a magical bent. So they wouldn't be just typical artists, but they would be Bisley artists or creating some kind of weird, surreal kind of art.
Cool.
Probably every so often, they have an art / walk, that they neighbors come and buy food from carts and that's great.
That's fun.
I know we haven't focused on it yet or settled on it, but I like it.
I think that's cool. It brings a weird, energy to the neighborhood and
I'd be curious to know how you interact with them, right? As a clockmaker, do you see yourself as as that kind of artist? You do.
I probably go there on occasion and buy clocks, right? Because
Maybe there is
a
clockmaker there who is like
sells you your cool stuff.
That's
cool.
Hey, got anything new, Bentley?
Cool.
Whatever his name.
Bentley.
I like Bentley. I like Bentley the clockmaker. She probably makes good stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is there any other ideas? Or want to just go with those?
I like those a lot.
if you want to just stick to one, I would say that, yeah.
We can give them a couple.
Do we have...
I wouldn't mind both The Exorcist and the...
There's The Exorcist
Yeah,
as
I really
well.
like both of those. I really like The Ghost Hunter. I think that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
She was good too.
Okay. Well, so the interesting thing about that, I think, is that I'm going to call both of those being positive.
Wow.
Because you like the fact that the Ghost Hunter is kind of driving all the ghosts.
I do.
Because you like the ghosts.
I like
Yeah.
the ghosts.
And you also know that if things ever got out of control...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Instant exorcism. Nice.
So both of those are positive, which is going to overall give you... It's going to overcome the really good dad negative. And so overall, we're looking at a pretty positive reflection on you. But we're not done yet.
We still have time to twist that knife.
Yeah, give us a second.
Because what we're going to come up with is a couple of local issues, rumors,
Oh, yeah.
stories going around. things, and let's be free to get a little weird.
Yeah.
What if there's rumors that someone's trying to monkey around with time to either bring this neighborhood back to, like, to basically
Time
make
monkeying is cool.
it back when it was posh to, like,
Kind of reset it.
yeah. And that could go well or poorly. Probably poorly. I feel like...
And is that just a rumor, or are there actually weird little flashes of the past that...
I think it could be starting to work, and the rumor is that someone's intentionally doing it, but the question is there
Is
a
it just
tiny...
accidental?
Yeah.
That's cool.
The time skipping is a really cool thing because you could just be like, I'm going to go to the market, and then you take 2
Oh,
steps, and it's
no.
been 3 days.
That's lost time.
That would bug me so much.
Or you might like...
Or you might gain
Gain.
time
Yeah,
if
yes,
there are
you-
flashes to the past.
Yes.
You see yourself walking to the store. So,
That's cool.
time monkeying.
Okay.
Or
That's a
like
good idea.
there could be reports of something moving in, like lots of unseen children in the area,
Yeah.
or something that's sort of new and weird that's
Yeah.
happening and no one really knows why.
Cool. So we have
We have time.
time weirdness and potentially maybe
A migration of unseen children.
more unseen
Migration.
children than
I like
normal.
that.
I mean, they're kind of
Which is,
always
like,
around,
one.
particularly in Fartown, but kind of all throughout Saturnine. But maybe there's, especially of late, more of them in Savion's neighborhood. But we don't know why.
That's fun.
Maybe it's related to the time skips.
Maybe.
I'm sure the rumors are saying that it is.
Clearly. Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah,
Do you
those are
want to
fun.
go with both of those?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I like having two things that could work together or not,
Yeah.
be related or not related. That's fun.
So I think the monkeying with time issue is almost certainly negative because you don't have any control over that. But I don't know that the unseen children necessarily is a negative. It might actually sort of be a positive. Maybe it's of interest to you. I don't know. What do you think? Does that seem like something that you would rather be more interested in than afraid of? Or
Yeah. I mean, to the extent that I like the idea of interrogating things by summoning them, or maybe unseen children or something I could one day turn my attention to.
Yeah.
maybe one day.
Source of information.
That would definitely be forging new ground. No one's ever been able to conjure an
So
unseen
it's
child.
in the back of my head.
Cool. Well, so that means, those two things are going to net out to negative, and we are already at a positive overall influence. So I think Savion's going to end up with a joy.
Nice. Well done.
Thank you.
And Savion, of all of those cool ideas, which one did you like the best? Which kind of strikes your fancy the most?
They were all great, but I think I'm liking this time collapse idea, or someone's monkeying with time and there's time flashes, so we don't know if someone's really doing it. I think I like that.
Okay, that suggestion came from Darcy, so
Cool.
Nicely
Thank
done.
key to match your other key.
I know. I realize I'm trying to steal another wicked key here.
I think I can tell the difference.
Some poor maker made that.
Oh, I know.
So now we move to Sean. Sean, tell us more about Seru.
So Seru, in Shadow, he worked in a Windows factory. It's a very boring job, and he was just dreaming of creating beautiful art. And so now his focus is just, he makes functional items. I mean, he makes sortiers, which are the magic things that work kind of like wands, but his goal is to always just make really interesting and beautiful ones. And that's actually why you and I have teamed up, because you're a maker, and so I will take these things and you will craft them into objects of power. And so that's the main source of my income. I have a personal interest in the history of sortiers because my house belongs to, or used to belong to, this woman named Laum, who basically a generation ago, she kind of repopularized the use of sortiers because she was a fashion designer for very wealthy people and influential people and some of the nobility. And so she kind of went, wands are boring and staves are so gauche that I'm going to take these sorters and just make these beautiful, beautiful things that just become part of your outfit and really match it.
Cool.
And so I now have her house, that she respected the privacy of her clients and of herself, and so she put a secret into the house, and that it's a hidden house, and so it's very well known as it's Laum's house. She's the one who kind of brought back the sorter as a thing, but it's very hard to actually find the house. So people know it exists, and if I brought you there, then you can find it. But random people just trying to be tourists and stuff have a hard time of knowing exactly where it is. Like, I know it's in this neighborhood somewhere, can never seem to manage to find it.
Cool.
But yeah, my goal is that now that we're back in this part of the actuality, I'm working on building this beautiful, perfect glass sword that I want to have a maker make it as hard as steel so I could actually use it as a weapon. But I'm collecting bits of glass from a bunch of different suns with different properties so I can fuse them together in my glass blowing workshop, which is part of my house.
Nice.
Cool. So, Seru has a hidden house, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have neighbors who obviously know the house is there. So who lives next to the hidden house here?
How about a neighbor that has a lot of exotic pets? Not merely just ferrets, but just weird creatures from out of shadow. And sometimes they get loose and get into your house, which you may or may not like. But you can always look over and see, like, in the window, some weird creature hanging. I think a lot of ferrets. I don't know why. Ferrets are freaking me out right now.
They're surreal creatures.
But they can definitely, we can get weirder. Maybe a lot weirder.
Yeah, ferrets being the least weird.
There we go.
Cool. Okay.
That's interesting.
Do we want to make them
dangerous.
they could be a person who just has a lot of interesting exotic pets, or they could be a pet store, right? The person's an important thing.
That could also be a store for sure. Yeah, I was thinking it was someone who just took in a lot of creatures that were in need.
Like a house rescue.
I do like that.
Like the weird, like the cat lady, but it's the weird exotic.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
But yeah, it could be whatever.
I feel like if it's just a person, there's a higher likelihood of them getting out, and I like that personally. Getting into your life.
All right, so maybe we'll just stick with the individual who seems to have an affinity, always coming up with more, probably always a little bit weirder.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a wrong cat.
Oh, I hope so.
We better have a wrong cat.
That's the cat that's always in the window.
Very distracting while I'm working on glass.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah, you could have somebody whose whole house next door was made of glass. So you could just see in and out, and it's like the most boring glass ever because it's just clear paint.
That would annoy me so much.
Oh man.
It's probably like
Those
that
are the
warpy
glass
kind and kind of chipped, and they don't take care of it.
I was thinking about a person who might be more than one person in a body. Maybe someone who kind of hosts a legion, or possibly some other. There's all sorts of ways to do it. I wonder if that could be an interesting person to live in your boring glass house.
Right, because sometimes they're just they're different people all the time, right? You're like, oh god, what's going on?
So one of them made that aesthetic choice. The other ones, may or may not support it.
I kind of want the host the legion person to also have all the pets for no reason. It just seems like utter chaos.
Maybe that's why there's so many different kinds.
Yeah, they just keep going. Everyone has different ones.
Let's keep those ideas separate.
Sorry.
Too complex. At least not to start with. These characters will get more developed over time.
What are some of the ideas we came up with before that we didn't use?
That we didn't use. A member of the Order of One Thought, but that's not all that significant for Seru.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about. You guys are really tailoring these close to characters.
Yeah. There was the kind neighbor. I wonder if there's a kind
the
gardening neighbor or something. Right?
Kind neighbor. No one ever used that.
It's true.
That is true. Although, why would he or she think that you needed you needed attention?
Well, it might just be.
They might just be mistaken.
Who
just does?
Who is available if Seru ever needs help.
You mean like really nice, like really positive. All right.
Suspiciously nice.
Could be suspiciously nice.
I like to make it
we lean toward the dark.
It's every day. Hey, need any help with that glass blowing? Your business? Anything?
Could be annoyingly nice.
Exactly.
Oh.
We don't know anybody like that.
All right. Well, those are 3 different really cool ideas. Which one do we want to choose for sure?
I think we definitely want the animal one. That's fun, right? The creature.
Exotic pets.
Exotic pets, right.
Now, I know that you have described Seru as a particularly laid-back guy, but I'm guessing that weird exotic pets just getting into your workshop and stuff is not going to be...
It is a glass workshop. It's like,
We want this bull and
Who's the neighbor on the other side, then?
the annoyingly nice person, I think.
Yeah, let's go with but not so annoying that it's really a negative, right? Like maybe
That's the point where they're calling the Thar.
right. Not that nice.
We could go with,
not that
with
annoying.
the idea of the suspiciously nice. Like, they seem to be honestly nice, but is there
kind of-
more going on
Put your
here?
hackles up.
Like the thing that where like because you're laid back, you might not notice it, but we're all kind of like,
Oh, yes.
That's
We're
a little
suspicious.
weird, right?
Yeah,
So
they're
you
going
think
over
it's
pie
the
again,
best
like,
thing
don't eat
ever.
that pie.
Okay. So it might actually be... That's an interesting one, because it's going to be sort of neutral for Seru.
Right, or even positive.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say neutral because while he's enjoying this nice pie, all of his
We're all
friends are
like,
saying,
"What?"
"Are you sure you should be eating
True.
that pie?" And so that
fair.
kind of takes away some of the pleasure of it.
Yes.
What are you talking about? Fourth pie today?
All right, so exotic pets is definitely a negative.
Is the nice neighbor, are they Vizsla? Is it a
Good question.
she or she? I just feel like I want to fill
yeah.
in just a little detail so I know who's bringing over all these pies.
Vizsla making pies is weird.
Yeah, and a little bit more suspicious, right?
Yeah.
It would give us more reason to be
That's
valid in
true.
our suspicions, maybe.
And she's nice in a lot of... She's not just a pie maker, right?
Right.
She's always kind of over there helping and, weeding his garden and...
Oh, I noticed this pet got into your thing.
Is this your
Corral. Okay.
So far we're coming out slightly negative then with the neighbors. But let's talk about maybe some points of interest in the neighborhood that are nearby. Something interesting, a business, a location.
I was thinking
Club.
since there's a couple, like you have a business there, maybe there's a clock selling business in the neighborhood. Maybe
crisscross.
my clock selling business. Is
Maybe your
in the neighborhood.
competition.
You and I are connected. We keep meeting.
We do? All right.
Yeah,
So you could live in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
That's
Oh
fine.
yeah, you could live in
Okay.
the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. We could also do like a somebody who sorry, I totally just lost my train of thought. No, totally lost it. Sorry, sorry guys.
I like the idea that there are this is sort of a business district or something. I have the I want, this might be my need for caffeine speaking, but I feel like we don't have a cafe yet.
Coffee shop, right? With like
Really?
bad poetry readings, like open mic. That would be kind of awesome.
I just feel like, when there's lots of
Yeah.
shops, there's also usually a little
Right.
caffeinated
Yes.
station.
Does the cafe have a theme? Like,
It should.
Yeah,
it-
it should.
There's- Also, just to throw out
Yeah.
a potential situation here, there's a couple of different sort of unique kinds of cafe
like
type
a
places.
prosody.
There's a prosody where you go and listen to poetry, and the poetry is so sustaining that it is like it's like eating a nice meal. You're fortified and sustained and what is the word I'm looking for?
Nutritious.
You get nutritionated. It actually it is truly sustaining from the poetry. That's probably the most cafe-like thing.
What if would
some
it
weird
be
bar-like
too
things,
big
too.
to have it say like it's like a little corner that has like a cafe and a prosody and like a cool restaurant, and so like it's just a cluster of foodie sustaining type things, or is that too
and that's
big
not
of a?
too far from the clock shop.
That's
so
not
I
too
can go
far.
over.
So you can go over there on your lunch
No,
break.
we're done with you.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give him some more positives here.
I don't know if that's too big of a thing, but
Sure,
it's
like
like
a-
a little,
just
and maybe
a
they're all owned by the
little-
same person or something. So there's a
Like
connection there.
A little food area
Maybe
with
it's
cafe
got a
and
courtyard that has sort of
Yeah.
shared seating, but you can kind of
Yeah,
get all these different
I
things.
anticipate. I see us going there between.
Yeah.
between activities.
So there's maybe a coffee shop and a cafe and then a prosody.
Prosody, yeah, that sounds fun.
Okay.
Maybe the coffee shop turns into a bar at night.
Yes.
So
Okay. So that's...
Does it literally turn into a bar
yeah,
at night?
totally, right? It just transforms.
The whole
Cool.
place
That's
looks different.
awesome. Yes, I like this.
Is there anything else?
What about like a cultural center, like a historical museum of Saturn or something where you like people come and they, listen to the audio thing, the magical audio things of the past or something like that. It's kind of a tourist attraction.
Yeah. No, I mean, yes. Maybe they have actually specific people in some places are like, let me tell you about my
right.
very
That who's
adventures.
there even, right? Because you can do that long history thing.
I'm imagining animatronics of
No.
Right.
people important Fartown people or Saturn people, but they wouldn't be animatronics.
But sometimes
they'd
you
be-
get the real them, depending on what day you go, right? Like,
Considering that Savion and Seru, if we decide to make their neighborhood the same, that also means that the art collective that is near Savion is near you, and
And I already have enough things for...
you probably consider that, I'm guessing, to be a positive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
if I'm not making sortiers, and I might just be making cool glass art pieces.
Right. You
Yeah.
probably have
You
some
can
friends
hang out
there
with
who are
your
also
laid-back
making
artist
cool
friends.
crafts. Cool. Okay. All right. So we've got basically all the Savion stuff, and then this cafe area with a cafe that magically turns into a bar at night.
Cool.
Maybe just literally as like the first shadows cover it,
Yeah.
it just transforms
Nice.
into a bar,
Lovely.
right?
Finish your drinks, everybody.
Yeah. What change happens.
does your coffee turn into
That
That's
last
right.
call is
Right,
very
you're-
important, right? 'Cause it
Right.
Just
Right. Or, it just becomes
yeah.
a glass of
That'd be
wine.
less dangerous.
I love that.
And then there's also the idea for this sort of historical center. Do we want to go with that as well? Or is that...
Let's save that maybe for...
Yeah, that might feel like too much in a single neighborhood, maybe.
I love that idea, though. But we do have one more neighborhood to...
So both of those things seem quite positive. Both, I mean the stuff that we decided for Savion as it is going to apply to Seru, plus this cafe area. So I think we are probably looking at an overall just so ever so slightly positive thing for Seru right now, but we're not done. Because we have some issues to come up. And of course, these don't always have to be negative, right?
Right.
These can be positive as well.
Could you remind me of some good positive ones? Like what would, so I'm inspired because I like to twist the
Me
knife.
too, me too.
Maybe the neighborhood. Well, we've already established it's kind of an older neighborhood, and there's some weird time stuff going on. But maybe particularly closer to where Seru lives, there actually is some rebuilding and cleaning up the streets, and things are being restored.
Okay.
That could be a
sense.
positive local issue.
I see.
That makes sense
maybe-
if the cafe area here is on the one edge. Of the
Yeah.
neighborhood,
That's the
and
nicer.
Maybe someone
be-
wants to build an art school, right? And there's some like,
people going around.
Could be that the local Garant, who's the sort of the neighborhood leader, is a good person, right? That could be a they're fair and just, because they are not all fair and just.
Yeah.
So those are some examples of positive. I'm not suggesting that we have to go with any of those.
That's helpful.
But I do like the rebuilding and
Yeah.
it kind of goes in with kind of what is kind of developed already.
right, and like not everyone wants that, right? So it's something that's really
right.
positive for the community, but there are probably some people who think that that's not a cool
Oh,
idea
sure,
or
like you're
good
not going
use.
to tear down my building, right?
Right.
This building's been there for 7,000 years.
Right.
But is the plan for that new center or art school or something? Is it going to be full of stained glass? Is that? Interesting.
Yes.
Mm.
I just wonder if you could be involved in some public works project, if you so chose.
So that this art is it like Like a museum, or is it a studio space?
No, like a school. Like teaching
I'm sorry,
art.
school. Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Cool. But they're just talking about building that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we want to go with that? Do we want other ideas?
What's the other community issues that this community has?
There's time lapses.
The time lapse
with rumors of time monkeying, and there's unseen children are at higher concentration rates than normal.
Right. What if there's like this wouldn't really be an issue, but like what if there's like magic being used to keep this stuff clean? Mm-hmm. And so like it's a positive, right? Because like the area is clean, but like it's a magic that may or may not only be beneficial. I don't know, is that too kind of esoteric and weird or?
Oh, but I really like, especially if we have this artist collective, what's art and what's writing on this wall that we need to scrape off,
right.
Murals that people are really proud of that are getting scraped off each night.
Right, because the definition of being clean that's really interesting.
So that's probably a big issue, right?
Yeah.
Magic between the cleaners and the artists, the taggers.
Okay, do you want to go with both of those then?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Seems fun.
Does that sound okay, buddy?
Yeah.
That is going to end up Seru with a joy.
Yay, joy.
And Sean, which of those ideas appeals to you most?
I'm going to say that just because Sarah's very like chatty and kind of laid back and blah, 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 the idea of having a little restaurant and the cafe nearby is just a nice, like, I can just sit there and have something to drink, watch people go by, get interesting ideas. So that would be an Atrix idea.
Was it? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was Shauna's idea.
Well, I had suggested a cafe, but was it Shanna who suggested? I think.
You had
I feel
the
like it might
seed of the
be.
idea.
I had the seed.
That's right.
It was a collaborative group.
Stupid collaboration.
What do you think?
Oh, we'll give it to Nkalia.
Yeah, I think that
Yay,
makes the most
Wicked
sense.
Key. Thank you.
You turned it into a much more like unique, interesting thing for the neighborhood, right? That it's this whole location.
Plus, we get to drink now.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Nkalia. Tell us a little more about her and what we need to know.
Okay, so Nkalia, as I said, is an established empath. She's a maker who eats knowledge. So she's super like obsessed with gaining information, particularly about like people's minds. Like she would have been an amazing psychologist if she didn't have this slightly sort of dark streak where she's really just interested in kind of screwing your shit up. So she's really passionate about that. But she has this really strict code of morals too, right? Like she doesn't just go out and screw up people's minds, right? You have to do something bad to her or her friends, or you have to sort of like she has to deem you sort of worthy of getting in there and moving your mind furniture around. And so in her pursuit of knowledge, she sort of is always juggling that, like, what is my code of morals and am I going to break it to get this knowledge that I really, really desire? So that's part of her like internal thought process all the time. Her best friend died during while they were making a thing. A few years ago. And so her best friend has a daughter in shadow. And so part of Nkalia's sort of arc is really trying to make sure that daughter is protected. And at this point, she doesn't know whether that means trying to bring her to Saturnine or just protecting her. And so she, despite the fact that the Hendassa are kind of an enigma and weird and sort of both good and bad, she's trying to kind of work with them to figure out what she can learn about what it takes to bring someone over, or find a way to protect that. So that's a big part of kind of what she's doing. But on her day-to-day thing, she mostly works with leather and metal. She works in a jewelry shop, and she does just sort of small things, like if you wanted to make someone sleepy, right, she can put that into a watch or things like that. So they're really small, but they also have to kind of go to her code. Like somebody's like, I want a watch that's going to kill you. And she's like, no. She lives in a large house that is an old abandoned library. And so basically it's a big structure. It's got all these cool spiral stairways and all these empty shelves. And she actually just lives in the very top of it.
They're empty because you ate all the books.
Perhaps. She'll never tell. And she can give the exact location of her house just by touching someone. And it's not hidden or anything, but she can just touch you and you know how to get to her house. I think those are the big things.
And how often do your friends see you wearing this mask?
Yeah.
Oh, this is my the thing that I've made that I super love, and I would say it's something that I always bring with me. I would say that I don't put it on typically unless like I'm feeling, because it's warding, and so it protects me from people who want to get in my mind, because it doesn't work both ways. And so I think I probably always have it with me, but I only actually put it on if I feel like I'm mentally in danger of being damaged or interfered with. It's called the Haunt of the Wood.
Do you have to like put it on over your face for it to actually...
I do, yeah. I actually have to wear it as a mask in order for it to work. So
Cool. So who lives next door to this old library?
You know, it'd be interesting. I can't remember
all
this
comes
fellow's name,
back.
but this guy who like has a really good opinion of himself, and you know, he's the actually sort of guy who believes he knows. He just has an opinion about everything, and you determine that he really doesn't necessarily know that much about anything. But
that would be so horrible.
but at first you went over there because you heard this guy live there, right? And
What a disappointment.
now
Will you hand me the path?
His name is Nathan Nevermole.
Oh, thank you. All right, you live next to Nathan Nevermall. Maybe.
No, I don't want to.
Yes.
Nevermole, I think.
He is in the Fartown section.
Yes.
He is the actually guy.
Oh my gosh.
There we go.
Bruce.
That's just an idea, right?
I'm just kidding. I love it. She does not.
Well, what other ideas do we have? Who might live next door to Incalia?
An idea I had was to have something related to your best friend. I wonder if your best friend's house is next to you, and so someone else might be living in it, or maybe you've
Ouch.
maybe it sits empty or inhabited by a ghost or something. I'm just curious whether that reminder is something that drives you, because you seem so focused on
the empty house of your friend is we're just driving.
You guys are.
What if Incalia used to live with her best friend, and then she died, and that's why she just moved next door to the old library.
That is way better. Yeah,
That makes me sad. Yeah, that's delightfully haunting.
But technically, that means she doesn't have a neighbor on that side.
But it counts, right? The empty house,
the lack of neighbor.
Maybe it's
the memory of a neighbor, right?
Yeah, the memory of a neighbor. That's.
Oh, I like that.
Kind of makes Nathan Nevermole not quite so bad.
Yeah, I probably went to him like seeking rescue at first, like, oh, talk to me.
Which of those ideas do we like better?
I want Nathan Nevermole to be her neighbor. I very much want that guy
I like
to show
it.
up and bother
It's not
me.
about me at all, is it?
Okay. Do we want to go with the empty house on the other side, or we want a different neighbor?
What if we introduce some conflict? What if it is that house and someone wants to buy that house or acquire that house? What if that person is like a historian or a criminologist, and so they have all this information in their head that you would love to get at? And so you're like, I really want to have the opportunity to interact with this person, but I don't want them living in the house
Yeah,
that
what would
I live
draw
in with my
you
friend.
most to really force you to make that choice of going into this haunted place?
Like the danger of them taking it down would probably be the worst, right? That they were gonna like knock it down and build a thing.
Or even if they just repaint it, just making it
Change
not
it all.
Yeah, don't
suit your
touch,
memory.
don't touch. Yeah. What about like a house flipper? I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to give my own ideas. like driving my own knife in. Okay.
I think someone who wants to change that house. And
You want to go with that?
I
Sure.
like it. Yeah.
Okay.
So do we think that they're changing it for their own because they're going to live there, or are they changing it to sell it, or do
Maybe
I
you
not
don't
know?
know.
I don't know. Okay, so they're just
Maybe
changing.
We'll have to find out.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Did they buy it? Like, do they own it now?
I think you still own it, but they're approaching you, and you're kind of in that conflict.
They want to buy it from you? Is that what you're
I think so, right? And I mean that's the conflict that that Sean had suggested.
I see. Yeah.
But this person is interesting in and of themselves because they have knowledge of interesting interesting things of the past. Criminologist sounds cool to me. But
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a neighbor, but a neighbor that you may one day be.
Potential neighbor.
Okay.
So they're around a lot, like taking measurements, taking notes.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
Should we go with those two then?
Sure.
Okay, and then let's move on to some points of interest in the neighborhood.
Go back to the pawn shop idea with all the crazy, weird leftovers things, especially since you have a friend that died. Maybe some of the stuff that once was owned by her is in that pawn shop, and you can't bring yourself to get it out because, I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, I'm giving you too much story. But anyway, a pawn shop with weird stuff that Vizsla may have left behind or had to pawn or whatever.
And it could be such interesting materials that might be hard to get, right? If you could repurpose some of those for some of your jewelry. I could imagine that being a really productive place, but the idea that you might come across, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
there's always
rough.
that shock to your heart if you see something that reminds you of something that your friend had.
Has that been? Did you used to go there with her
probably.
too? Right? Maybe
Yeah,
that's
because we're both makers, so that makes sense.
Boy, we're just really trying to.
Yeah, you guys are
Let's
just
come up with a point of interest that doesn't have anything to do with that one particular.
Let's just say that that's where you started going because you never went.
Well, no, I mean let's come up with a different idea, a completely
sure,
different
sure.
idea that doesn't have anything to do with that.
I like. Could we have any like bodies of water, like a fountain, or again, I think having.
But a fountain that has a different color with each sun or something, right?
Oh, that's
gold,
fun.
Gold sun, blue sun. I mean,
Oh, cool! It changes through
changes. It follows the path of suns for whatever reason.
And there are fish in it, and the fish change depending on what the sun is.
Sure.
Oh, I like that. Do people think this is like a particularly strong place of magic, right? Since magic weaves through the path of suns, and whether it actually is or not.
Maybe they come and throw coins in, and make wishes of particular significance based on the color of the water. Sun color.
Okay.
That might make an interesting place for people to have events like, oh, we're going to have a wedding. Well, we're going to wait till it shifts to the color that is new beginnings. Blah, blah. So that's when they have a ceremony there. So there's a lot of activity in that area.
Yeah, it's probably very popular.
I wonder what color the divorce ceremonies are. Color sun, red.
Gold is change.
Depends on what kind of divorce would you do.
I guess it depends.
Amicable.
Pale as death. Okay, so those are two good ideas. We can go with one of them. We can go with both of them. We can come up with more.
I'm going to ask whether we can think of anything else that would really feed into your sort of eats knowledge bit, right? But it would have to be a point of interest, like a place. So,
how about just a library, an actual library, right? That has just a great place that for a specific particular kind of knowledge that you might go to.
And do they know who she is?
Yeah.
And then therefore don't let her in.
Yeah. I like the library you can't go into. Sorry.
You're hanging around saying, hey, could you check out a book on...
Yeah, right.
So
I
when
think
you
there
eat
might
knowledge, do you actually just consume?
I think
So
there's
they won't
actually
let me in. That's why my
there's actually a note in East Knowledge that says that libraries, like if they know
who I am.
I didn't mean that to be a negative. I meant it.
No, it's not me. I'm wearing a mask.
Right.
Yes.
Well, there are other libraries that she can go into.
And there are other ways that I can.
But it just happens that there's a great library right down the street, and you are forbidden.
I just hang outside going, do you have a library card?
Your stomach's rumbling.
All right, so of those three, we can have up to three. But we want to choose. Do we want like 1, 2, or 3 of those? We've got the pawn shop that has lots of Vizsla interesting stuff in it. There's the fountain, changes color, and there's the forbidden library.
I really like that pawn shop.
Okay.
I think I'm really intrigued by.
Sounds good.
Go with that. And
anything else?
Either of the other two?
I like the fountain area as well.
Yeah, I like the library, but we have a lot of library book-related stuff for you. I think it'd be nice to have something that's a little different so you can branch out.
Yeah. You can go there and just meditate.
All right. Well, both of those are going to be positive. They're going to equal out for her negative neighbors. So right now, you are neutral. You're not having a positive or negative effect. However, We still need a couple of issues, something going on around, or some general condition that affects the entire neighborhood, like whether the garant is good or bad.
So if the fountain is there and people come there and have ceremonies there, maybe there's like this petition for this group that I don't know the name of, or if it even exists, but a group that people are just generally not happy with are trying to come in and do some sort of big multi-day ceremony around the fountain, and people in the neighborhood are just no, we do not want this, but maybe some people do. But so it's this kind of rumbling undercurrent going on in the neighborhood of like, don't let in the group who we don't. Is there like a group like an organization that's kind of just generally maybe they're
come
just
up with quite a few.
Potential. Maybe the abnormous, right? Maybe the group that thinks that summoning demons is good and we should all be hosts for the demons, something like that.
I like that. I was thinking about an election, like.
For the new Jared.
Do they do elections? What's the selection process?
Sometimes it really varies from neighborhood to neighborhood. It would imply a pretty open and benevolent neighborhood to have elections as opposed to just an appointment or something like that. But it's possible, sure.
I wonder if your neighbor might be angling.
Certainly has ideas about it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Garrett.
You guys are going to make me eat his brain.
Really doesn't believe that. Okay, so that's a possible one.
Their issues be some sort of
Something weirder than ceremonies or elections.
rat goblin infestation.
Rat goblin infestation could be one.
What about there's like a mist that kind of comes through every few days, and people who are hit by it just have really weird hallucinations, and sometimes they're precognitive.
Fun.
Ooh,
That's cool.
I like that.
Sometimes people run away, and sometimes people run into it.
Run toward it. The mist chasers.
Nice.
I can see it.
It'd be interesting if it was addictive as well. So people would be like, oh, I had a vision. And go back.
So let's take those 4 and let's choose 2, say. So we've got controversy about someone wanting to have some kind of ceremony or something by the fountain. We have an upcoming election for the leader of the neighborhood, rat goblin infestation, or this strange precognitive mist.
I like election and precognitive mist personally.
I love the mist for sure.
And maybe it's not.
I like the election because it's just more just like who knows what's going to happen, right? People are kind of going around. This is weird. We don't normally do this kind of thing. Why are we doing this? Okay. Nathan Nevermore has a big opinion about it. Maybe he's running.
Oh, I'm going to have to suck the knowledge right out of his head.
No. That's true. Poor Nathan.
That's what already
Nathan's probably faded.
I'm going to have the memory of a neighbor on both sides.
Is that the opinion of the table, or do you...
I think so. And maybe part of the thing with the election is like it doesn't necessarily have to be an election. You have 2 people who both think that they are the best candidate, but they are perhaps considering non-voting ways for deciding that.
Well, when I ran into the precognitive mist, I clearly saw that someone was going to become
Nicely done.
Was that the 3rd or the 4th time?
So that is... The election is, I'm going to say, is just neutral, because we don't know exactly how it's going to come out, good or bad. The precognitive mist is also probably... Well, I'm going to say it's probably negative, because it's going to wander into the neighborhood sometimes when you don't want it to.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not truly precognitive, right? Sometimes it's just a hallucination. And how do you know the difference, right? So that is going to give you overall a very slight negative, which is going to mean a despair for Incalia. And Shauna, you need to... decide which one of those ideas you like the best, applies best to Incalia.
Oh, the well, actually, guy, unfortunately, versus at you.
Well, actually, yes.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
And that's a wiki key for
That worked out right.
Yeah.
As much
Savion.
as Inkalia is going to hate it, I think it's awesome.
Yes.
So now we've got lots and lots of story seeds and possible hooks to work with here as we move into things, and potentially keep those in mind as we move into development mode. These might be things that you want to work with and deal with in that way, and maybe eventually they will come on stage, as it were. But let's talk about you guys specifically and how you are connected. Why do you know each other? We're going to assume that you are all long friends. You've known each other for quite some time. But why? What are the things that connect you? How did you come together?
Well, since I'm in Sean's neighborhood and we run into each other all the time, maybe, in weird places, maybe that's kind of a connection that we have. Like, we're just like, what are you doing there? What's going on here?
So like fated companion.
That would work.
Well, that's an interesting one.
But does that give you benefits?
Yes, it gives you a really powerful benefit, but once you use it, it's gone.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to have a big argument, throw down. And
Well, the idea is that you're fated to come
do a thing.
to some particular
fun.
point, and at that point, you both get a
That's
huge
lovely.
benefit, and then
that's it.
well, you can still be friends,
Oh.
or maybe you go your separate ways. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that works for me. That works for you. Yeah. Cool. All right, let's get some coffee up there.
Keep meeting at the coffee shop.
We're fated to.
Sorry, Seru, not Sean.
Well, I think we have I can imagine a number of ways that we're
Ghosts.
related. We've got ghosts going on together. We were kicking around the idea of maybe knowing each other in shadow. I don't think I talked about what the Cicatrix's shadow life was like, but I was sort of a writer of like motivational speaking books and like self-help books. And
Nice.
so I know a way with words.
And I was a weatherman, and I worked for a news studio. So maybe they had you on.
Oh, for sure.
For,
Nice.
doing
I had a
promotion,
segment or
right? Oh, let's have you on, whatever your shadow
Yeah.
name was, right? And and so we became friends that way, maybe. And
Yeah.
so we were
That's awesome.
shadow friends in that sense.
Okay,
And we got
cool.
back to Saturday, and I was like, hey,
Yeah, you.
what are the benefits of being shadow friends? They're skill related, right?
Right.
Okay.
You have
Yeah,
the
you
same
guys
shadow skill, and it's level 3 instead of level 2.
Well, I think persuasion would
I
probably
think
be a
so.
good one.
I feel like
because-
I have this image of
Both on-air
I'm-
personalities.
Yeah.
I have this image of us like when the cameras go off, like laughing to each other about how we like swindle these people. Or
The weather's never right.
You're like,
they think you know the weather.
I love that. Yeah, that's great.
That is
Oh, yeah,
really
we're just
fun.
like putting each other down.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
That would be awesome. Actually.
Yeah.
what about you? How are you bonded to this group?
Well, I was thinking that since the two of us are super like driven,
Yeah.
I feel like even though we're driven in totally different ways, I feel like there's like this inherent kind of competition of like
Well, no.
who's gonna
Yeah, because I feel
who's
like
gonna
I
get
can get
there.
knowledge however I want. Demonic, either through
Yeah,
angels or demons,
but,
right? And
but
you're
eating
like,
knowledge is like the way to go.
right? So maybe we met at this. Where's the cafe?
Well, if you sell watches and I work in a jewelry store, that might have
That's
actually
true.
been our first connection,
Oh,
and then we
okay.
kind of grew from there
Okay.
as we like started talking and figuring out kind of that we had this.
And so we're like, kind of like, hey, yeah, but no, really, I hate that you knew that and I didn't know that.
yeah, like friendly rivalry though, not like
Yeah.
I want to eat your brain kind of thing.
I like that a lot.
Okay, well, that means that you guys are going to have to keep track because each time your rival succeeds in an action, you're incentivized.
Oh, good.
And that means that you gain a +1 to your next action, right? Because you're
Nice.
like, hey, you can't let her
I gotta one up you.
I
right?
love that.
Wow.
But you have to be within long distance of each other, and you
when
have to
that
be able to see
when that
each
happens,
other. Yeah, right. Like
Okay.
so, you have to see Bruce. I'm sorry, you have to see Savion succeed at something, and then you're like,
And then-
you're gonna get a bonus on your next
nice.
action.
So can you guys keep
So I'll just
feeding
keep
off each
making you
other?
go first. You attack.
No, it's not.
Cyclical.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that if you succeed on your action, that doesn't mean you get right.
Okay.
It has to be a
Maybe
whole
try to
new
break
set
the
of
system.
actions.
Great. Okay, so That's fun.
I know
That
about
would-
breaking things.
This will be really fun. It's like, no,
Cool,
wait,
thank you.
watch this.
And then since Seru is so laid back, I was thinking, I'm sorry, but my character might, one of her major goals is to see the Order of the Honed Thought restored to its former glory. And I feel like these two, I may have given you the pitch and you were like, nah, like, nope. And then, sort of wrote me off. But you might have been a little too, laid back. And I mistook your...
It was not a firm no.
It was not a firm enough no for me. And so I'm maybe trying to recruit you to my organization.
Sure.
And of course, because it takes the pressure off us, we're like, you should go to...
Sarah the other day was just talking
loves
about
that.
it.
Oh, yeah.
So it just keeps encouraging
Just
you to...
bring him some pie.
I love
And you
that.
want to go with a full-on bond, or is this just a sort of a
Yeah.
lowercase b bond?
It's a good question.
Normally you have just one connection, but we can be, if this fits the story, we can stretch that and we can have. This would be probably an unrequited bond,
Yeah.
right? Which again creates an interesting dichotomy of you get a bonus when you're near him. I guess
Yeah.
you're kind of trying to show off or something
Right.
a little bit, or show him the power of honed thought.
Yeah.
But then you have the ability to at any point just
Take
say
an
that
action
you
away.
are far away, sort of as a free action.
I'm out of here.
I think it's fun. And I have a level in seeing through deception, so I know when you're actually trying to con me about how great this group is.
That's pretty
But when you're
delightful.
honest about it, it's like, okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to have a capital B bond about that. I feel like we know what our... is there any benefit to it, or...
There's just story benefit.
Yeah. What do you think, Sarah?
Well, doesn't she get a bonus when she's near me? If she-
Yes.
Yeah, so...
So does the
So you get... Oh,
Yeah.
No, I'm saying if you want to go the full bond, I'm okay with that. And
Yeah, I think it fits close enough unrequited
Sure.
relationship. What do they call it?
Unrequited.
bond. Yeah.
So let's see. So I have a capital B or a lowercase b bond with both of you guys, but I don't have anything. We're not super connected.
I mean, I'm imagining, I'm really interested in sort of fashion and different kinds of clothes and things like that. So I know that's an interest of hers. So I'm imagining.
Friends.
Yeah, we could be friends. We could be
Yeah.
former lovers. We could be.
Yeah.
I could be the former lover of your girlfriend. Like how complex do we want to
Ooh,
make
that's a
that
good
thread?
point.
Because there's, we could.
We should totally be metamorphs. We should definitely both have the same dead ghost girlfriend.
That sounds super complicated, but also very fun.
She's not around a lot, right? So I wonder if it would. Is that of interest to you? Or?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to. I don't want to step on this. I don't want to step in the story that you have kind of in your brain. So.
I don't know where that story's going yet.
Okay.
So we'll
That would be
play
a major
with that.
complication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
well, but it doesn't have to be too messy if your relationship with her ended.
Right. Sure. I mean, I'm assuming we're friends now,
Yeah.
so we just have that history and.
Which could be nice because I might have you to confide in,
Right.
like, man.
Right, because
you know,
it's like.
you kind of know the situation,
Yeah.
you know her, and like not many people know her because she's not
Yeah,
around anymore.
right.
So that could
Yeah,
be
that
really
would be
interesting.
fun. I guess that puts me at an 8, like probably. How long has she been a ghost?
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
haven't established that.
I was just thinking about
yeah.
history, like how long ago are all these relationships,
Right.
but maybe that doesn't matter, just generally speaking.
Let's say like a couple of years, like 2. Like it's pretty recent.
Okay, so
It doesn't even
we
need to
could
have
go
been a
back.
serious relationship.
Right.
You could just date it for,
Right.
like a month and be like, yeah, this isn't a thing.
Right, and so basically it would just give me an insight
Yeah.
into what you're going through, which is
Yeah.
kind of fun and interesting.
Okay, cool. But that is just
That's just a lowercase b,
Yeah,
like
just how
connection,
we know
so
each
that
other.
we,
Alright,
yeah.
cool. So we
have a
have
thing.
kind of everyone sort of together, understand why you're all together. So we also need to think about your character's ephemera. You're all going to start with some ephemera objects that you have collected in various ways over time, but also some incantations that you have gained through meditation. Now, you can have up to 4, I believe.
I can, and only up to 2 of those can be incantations.
Okay. So you have this.
Touch of Madness, a
Ooh.
tiny bird claw. You touch this cloud to a creature and they suffer 1 anguish. Oh, that's so perfect for me. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And, you have probably maybe even gone out of your way to acquire this as an object.
Oh, I have the complex tongue. And basically, when I'm speaking with a conjured being, I get a bonus.
Oh, nice.
It's
Fantastic.
literally like a mummified demon tongue.
Oh, do you have to actually show it, like, to make it work?
And imagine you have it like
Probably
tucked in with your pocket square.
Oh my god.
It's really gross.
That's glorious.
And you have found a piece of string.
Yay! Ooh, Asmana's hand. Ooh, oh, cool. It's a piece of string that I can use to turn my hand corporeal and slowly move through objects. So when I don't, which is great because I don't have to leave my body to kind of spirit form through things.
Oh.
That's delightful.
And Seru, you have managed to get maybe in exchange for some cool glass thing that you made, someone was able to repay you with this very powerful silver drops of restoration.
Nice.
Oh, this restores all pools.
Wow.
Wow.
Saving that.
And let's see, so
I'm so excited.
you also have this.
The gold potion. Oh, nice. It gives me movement and accuracy, Benny, which is awesome.
And you also have an extra ephemera, so you
Yeah,
have 4, and you guys have 3,
yes.
correct? Okay, so you have this mark.
Sighted digits. Oh, I can.
I guess both of you are hand.
Yeah.
I love that. Placed on each fingertip. I can turn it. I turn this mark into a functioning eye, and so it just gives me an additional piece of vision. So it just
Nice.
And you could use those together.
Those are a pretty powerful 1-2 punch.
I
Yeah.
hadn't even thought of that.
Man.
And then each of you also has gained an incantation as well. And so the one that Seru you have gained is this.
Resolving visions of the present. After I speak with someone in a pleasant manner, they're more likely to say yes to a request.
Ooh,
I'm chatty.
that checks out.
And you have learned this
Well,
incantation.
actually, I needs that.
Oh, if you listen, you can hear them becoming more. Oh, interesting. Any spell that I can cast, I get additional targets. I sort of spread that spell out amongst more. I love that name.
Oh, that's very nice.
And this is probably appropriate for you. It's called Weep While the World Weeps.
Oh, wow.
I touch a person and they see their own weeping face wherever they look.
Whoa.
Every person they see has that face. Every clock face, every animal, every surface. Oh my
Oh
god.
my gosh.
I want to keep this forever.
Eventually you can learn it.
I know.
And the incantation that Savion has learned is this.
This is the gaze turns inward to see real beauty. Well, I can cast it on a being near, and I can control all their senses.
Whoa.
And wow, basically, I create a full sensory illusion around them. So I put them in my own world, private world of my own creation.
And being is pretty broad too. It's not just people, so that's cool.
And you caging creatures.
Yeah.
If you could just cage somebody and just mess with them, you should talk about
Terrifying.
To my world.
And so you'll notice that you all have ephemera of one less than normal. This is something special that we're going to take care of in the next session.
Cool.
Okay.
And explain why that is. But we do need to wrap this one up by coming up with what's called the desideratum. And this is the thing that you guys as a group, what you desire. And this is something general, right? Like, we could all use some more money. We could use information, right? We could...
I like the information angle. Personally.
I like it more.
I see how this is going to go.
Okay.
What do you guys want?
I'm working on my goal to build this sword. So
you
anything
need information.
I need information.
Locations
I need
of
exotic
different
materials.
materials.
Materials, right?
Yeah. one of my ideas for how I might want to try to reestablish this organization for its former glory is by discovering some big secret or some really cool treasure or something. Like, I want something very newsworthy. So I think she's going to be looking up, anything she can pull off or some really cool big secret that would enhance the standing of this organization and say, here's what you could do if you join me, right? So I think having one big, cool, weird secret find would be helpful for me. So I think information.
Well, as it turns out, that's exactly what I was hoping you guys would say.
Wait,
we
change.
will find out why that is
Oh, no.
next time.
Oh, yay!
Yay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.